Hello, hello. This is our lower body lengthening class. So we're going to do some nice stretching. You could have two blocks and maybe a blanket if you like to have the blanket to sit yourself up on, a strap if you're not able to reach your foot in a forward fold. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to start on the back. You can have your blocks out of the way for now, and maybe the strap near your blocks, kind of towards the top, and you're going to lie down. So this will be just a nice overall lower body lengthening, stretching sequence, just to bring a little love back into the hips, the groins, and the hamstrings. So let's start with the feet on the ground, knees bent. Maybe just start with some pelvic tilts. So kind of rocking the pelvis forward and back, getting a little movement in your lumbar spine. So bringing mobility to the low back is actually indirectly really nice for your hips and hamstrings, because sometimes that's where we hold a lot of tightness. And so just moving between these two shapes, the anterior tilt, posterior tilt, you're actually stretching your hamstrings here. It's subtle, but it is effective. We're just going to do this for 2 more rounds of breath, alternating from an anterior tilt with that big gap between your low back and the floor, and a posterior tilt, almost like a bridge pose. And maybe just do 1 more both ways. And then settle right in the center with your pelvis level, even. And then just let your knees kind of rock side to side, just a little bit, not quite a twist, but just let them sort of shift. Feel the weight in your feet kind of shifting from the outside arch to the inner arch. And then reach your arms overhead. Exhale, hug both knees to your chest, Apanasana. And here you can rock side to side if that feels good for your spine. And just take a little movement. And then we're going to inhale. Exhale, round your forehead to your knees. Squeeze your knees close to your chest. And then on the inhale, lower your shoulders and your head down. Now from here, I'd like for you to bring your palms to your knees and point your fingertips towards your toes. And then with your elbows straight, push your knees into your hands. Draw your navel down into your lower spine and see how this lengthens your spine. So you're pushing your knees into your hands, and there's that little bit of resistance as your hands kind of pull back on the knees, but it's mostly the action in the legs. And you should feel your whole spine lengthening. And then we're just going to take 1 more inhale. And then exhale, knees to chest, forehead rises up to the knees. Curl. And we'll do that again. Inhale, lengthen. So kneecaps push into your palms as you kind of grip onto the knees and lengthen your spine. Shoulder blades plug down to the mat. And then on the exhale round, lift your head to your knees. And we'll do this 1 more time. Inhale to lengthen everything out. And then exhale to pull it all in. From here, grab your feet, come to happy baby, lower your shoulders and your head. And let your knees go wider than your ribs. You can rock side to side if that feels good. You could maybe even try to straighten one of your legs if you have that mobility. And then bend it back into happy baby, and then straighten the other leg. And then bend it back in. And if that felt good, you could do it again. Or kind of just breathe into the hips. Breathe into the areas that feel tight. Gravity is doing most of the work on this shape, so you don't have to try too hard. And then we'll bring the knees back to the chest. Circle the knees in opposite directions. So you're just going to do nice rotations of the hips. So here we're just lubricating the hip socket, bringing fluid into the joint. Go the other way. Just nice and smooth. You can make these slow so that the circles can be really big. Kind of stretching out all parts of the hip, and then bring the knees back towards each other. Bring your feet down. Have your feet nice and wide, edges of the mat, arms to cactus. Drop your knees right all the way this time. And then gently press your left knee towards the mat, towards the ground. It's not going to touch the ground, but it's just going to lengthen your quad a little bit here. And then start to come through the middle and drop both knees left. And then ground that right leg towards the earth without actually touching it. Just so you stretch your quad. And maybe a little bit of awareness of your low back here so that it doesn't turn into a back bend. And then bring the knees back to center. Drop them to the right one more time. Maybe a little bit of pressure pressing that left knee down. And then pass the legs to the left last time. Maybe press your right knee a little bit down. And then come to the center. Hug your knees in again. This time you're going to grab behind your thighs, kick forward and back to a seat. Scoot yourself back so that you can straighten the legs. And then from here, just shake them out a little bit. We're going to do a twist. So hug your right knee in. Marichasana. You could keep the foot hip distance. So it doesn't have to be like touching your left leg. There could be a little gap about hip distance. So hug the left arm around the right knee and twist to the right. So this is Marichasana C. It's a closed twist towards your bent leg. And you're looking past your right shoulder. And then breathe in. Breathe out, untwist. Reach your right arm on the inside of your leg. Twist away from your right leg. This is Marichasana O. It's an open twist. And you can look past your left shoulder. And there's a little tension, counter tension. Your right arm is pushing into your right knee and vice versa. And then release. Janu Shirshasana. So right foot is going to touch the left thigh. Let that knee fall open. Maybe use the strap here around the left foot if you need it. But we're going to inhale, get really tall through the spine. Kind of twist to your left and then fold over the left leg. And here you want to think of lengthening the back of your left leg, reaching through your heel. And your chest is falling towards your left leg. So the benefit of this stretch is that you obviously feel it in your hamstring, your calf, into the Achilles. But you also could be feeling it in the right side of your low back. That's the QLT muscle. Those muscle fibers run horizontal. And so when you do a forward fold with a twist, you target that muscle group. And then we're going to inhale to come up, take a counter twist to the right, and then come forward. We're going to keep going with this right leg. So this time we're going to cross the right foot over the left thigh and then hug your right leg in towards you and give it like a hug, kind of cradle, rock side to side. So this should start to maybe open up your right glute a little bit, depending on if you're sore. And then bring that foot down. Take the twist again, hugging the knee, or hook your elbow around your knee and twist to the right. We're just going to stay here for another breath and then release it. One more thing here, seated figure four. So you're going to open your right knee so that it's like parallel to the floor, and then bend the left with your foot connected just below the kneecap and lean into your arms. And so here you can control the depth of your stretch. If you want it to be a bigger stretch, you close the gap between your hips and your left foot. And then maybe you can lift the heart and gaze upward. And you're kind of pressing your right knee away from your body, and your left knee is keeping, kind of in a way, pushing your foot closer to you. I'll just stay here for like 2 more breaths. And then we could start to release this by straightening the left leg. Release the right leg, shake that one out. We'll do everything the other side. So starting with Marichasana, bend the left knee. Your foot can be in line with your heel. So it's like your heel in line with your hip, your sit bone. And then twist to the left. You're closing the belly, closing the body, and twisting. And just breathe, sitting up really tall. Feel that length in your spine. And then exhale to untwist and rotate to your right, keeping the legs exactly the same. Just pushing your arm into your knee into your arm, and twisting right. Open twist. You can breathe into the belly, into the ribs, let your neck get a twist, and then release. And then from here, Janu Shirshasana. So just let the knee open, foot to thigh, with or without the strap. We're going to sit up as tall as you can. Inhale, and then exhale, hinge, forward fold. So ideally, this is a flat back, and you're getting the stretch down the back of the right leg. So you should flex your right foot so your toes point to the ceiling. And every exhale, maybe you bend the elbows and get a little bit deeper, lengthening through the crown of the head, as well as through your tailbone, all the way down your spine. And the lower left side of your back might be getting a nice stretch because there's a slight twist to the right. And then on the next inhale, you'll come back up and take a counter twist left just to even out your spine. And then from here, come forward. We're going to bring this left kneecap towards the ceiling, cross your left foot over your right thigh, and then hug this knee close to you so your foot lifts off the ground. Do a little cradle here just to stretch out the glute, and then place it back down. We're going to take one more twist to the left. So you might hook your elbow for this one and twist. This is a closed twist. A little bit deeper with the cross. And let that go. Seated figure four. Slide the foot so your knee opens. Bring the right knee bent. And then you could position your hips wherever feels good. Lean into the arms and open the collarbones. Spread the chest. And we'll just stay here a couple breaths. So you can imagine there's warm sunshine hitting your skin. Maybe take a very little rock, kind of cradling the legs side to side if that feels good. Just opening up the heart space as well as opening the hip. And then we can start to release this, straighten the leg. Let that left leg come straight, shake it out. And then sit up tall. We're going to do Paschimottanasana. So both legs will stay straight. Hips are parallel, with or without the strap. Inhale, sit up as tall as you can or grab onto your strap. And then exhale, fold over both of your legs straight. So this is another neutral spine, like a flat back. So you could think of inhaling, sending your tailbone back and down and the head forward and up. And then exhale to maybe bend the elbows and bring your belly closer to your thighs. So just take that with every breath. Maybe you inhale, lengthen. Exhale, deepen. A few more breaths here. And maybe last one. And then on the inhale, rise all the way up. And you can shake out the legs a little bit here. All right, let's transition to tabletop. So come to hands and knees. You could take some wrist circles, just starting to move through the hands. And also these big circles, you could sometimes feel it in the glutes too, if you're tight. So kind of thinking about what happens when you send your weight back, how that even stretches the legs here. And just maybe take one more circle. And then we'll come into downward facing dog. So nice, good stretch for the hamstrings. You could pedal out the legs to start. So think about your feet here. We're rolling through the arches of the feet, kind of stretching out the toes. As you alternate bending one knee and then the other, really lift your your heel. So on the knee that's bent, really lift that heel and peel it off the ground and alternate back and forth. So you should start to open up the arches of the feet. And then let's settle in some stillness in our downward dog. Trying to get your heels to touch the earth. Push through your palms, lengthen the arms, lengthen the spine, pointing your tailbone to the sky, and navel pulls in and up. And let's just stay here for 2 more breaths. And we're going to take a 3-legged dog next. So maybe feet a little closer. Sweep your right leg up. And then stack your hip and bend your right knee. And then try to square your shoulders a little bit. So just mostly the hip is twisting open. We're going to hang out here. And then straighten the legs, square the hips, bring that leg down. Left side, sweep the left leg up. Stack the hips, bend the left knee. Maybe square the shoulders a little bit by drawing that left shoulder in and down. And then on your inhale, straighten the legs, square the hips, bring it down. Come back to tabletop. Come to a child's pose with the legs side by side. And just stay here for 2 breaths. And then we're going to look forward. Lift a little bit off of your heels. Bend the elbows and slink through to a prone position. And then come up to Sphinx. Elbows down, palms down. So you could stretch out the belly a little bit here. Think of sending your hip bones down by firming in the glutes a little bit. Shoulder blades away from the ears. And just stay for one more breath here in this back bend. And then we're going to come down. Come back up to tabletop. Now here we can have the blocks forward or even under the hands if you need it. But I don't think you'll need the blocks under the hands just yet. So we're just going to step this right foot forward to the widest part of your mat. So your hands are on the inside of your foot. And then lift up to a lunge. So the left leg is straight. Maybe you rock forward and back here. So this is lizard. If you need hands on blocks here, go for it. And then we're going to release the back knee down. And then here, maybe bring your elbows to the blocks. We're just going to hang out for a couple breaths, untuck your back toes. And if you're mobile, you can lower the blocks or you can remove them completely and bring your elbows to the mat. And just relax your head. So this is getting into the right hip. It's like a really deep, happy baby on one leg. And you're also stretching the left hip flexor, which is good here too. And if you want to explore, you could roll to the pinky toe side of your foot, the outer edge of your foot, and that might open the glute a little bit differently. And then place your foot flat again, and maybe just take that one more time. Maybe roll to the outside of the foot, and then roll it back. And then we're going to put our hands on the blocks and straighten the elbows. And then from here, I want to take a twist. So actually, let's bring that left elbow back down. And then reach your right arm open to the sky. So that'll be a little bit deeper. And so we're twisting in our lizard. And then bring your right elbow back to the block. And now we'll straighten the arms. Tuck your back toes and lift your back knee. We're going to do one more thing here. Drop your back foot down almost like a warrior one. So your heel comes down and your toes spin out a little bit. With this right block, bring your hand to the block, press your right arm into your right leg, and reach your left arm to the ceiling. Kind of like extended side angle here. So it's a twist in the opposite direction, and we're kind of opening the right hip a little bit. And then bring it back down. And then we're going to drop the back knee, and then come back to a tabletop. Right knee is back. Hands on the floor or on blocks. Left foot is going to come forward. Tuck your back toes, lift your right knee. So we're starting in lizard with or without the blocks. Maybe rock forward and back. That feels good for me, so you can kind of just see what feels good for you. And then release your right knee back down. And then we're going to bring elbows to the blocks or to the ground and hold. Lizard on the left. It's like a really deep, happy baby. Like if you were in a happy baby, your knee would be touching the ground pretty much. And then maybe play rolling to the outer edge of the foot. And then bringing the foot back and rolling to the left side of your foot. And then bringing it flat again. And then from here, let's actually stay on the elbows and reach your left arm to the sky for a twist. So now we're getting the spine involved, maybe stretching the hip flexor more indirectly with this. And then bring the elbow back down. And then we'll straighten the arms. Hands can stay on the blocks. Tuck your back toes. Lift your back knee. You can lift your inside block, your left block, and then spin the back toes out to drop your heel. Press your left arm into the left leg and your leg into the arm. So there's a little tension in your hip, and right arm peels up. So it's pretty much extended side angle. And then we'll start to bring it down. You could use hands on the blocks and then come to a tabletop, knees down, and then move the blocks. And then come to a child's pose, knees wide, toes touch, and reach the arms forward. And then come back to tabletop. Come to a downward facing dog, getting into the hamstrings. And then we're going to walk to ragdoll, feet to hands. Forward fold. Really simple. You could just roll up through your spine. Take your time. Don't rush this. Feel the weight pouring into your legs. Keep a micro bend in your knees the whole time. Let your arms and head be really heavy. And let everything round. It's okay if your belly is loose. Don't worry about what anything looks like. And then the head and the neck are the last thing. And maybe shake the legs a little bit. All right, we're going to do some standing poses to stretch. So with your blocks, we're going to come into a wide-legged stance facing the long side of your mat. Place your blocks down in front of you. Prasarita Padottanasana. So hands on hips or heart center, up to you. Toes are turned slightly in or straight forward like railroad tracks. Breathe in, firm the glutes, lengthen the spine. And then breathe out, hinge with a flat back. And then start with hands on blocks. And again, you can always control the height of your blocks. So just take a few moments, feel how this is really stretching the backs of your legs, the hamstrings. And then with or without the blocks, you're going to walk your hands back so that your fingertips line up with your toes, and bend your elbows like a chaturanga, and get the crown of the head towards the ground and the tailbone towards the sky. So there's a couple things you could think about in this forward fold. The legs are very active. I'll say all the cues, but you can just take the ones that resonate with you. So we'll build it from the bottom to the top. Maybe you think of pushing into the outside arch of your foot, and then the inside arch of your foot naturally rises. We're going to firm the legs by squeezing the quads, and your kneecaps are going to lift up on your legs. So your quads are active, you're shortening the front of your leg. Keep your hips engaged by kind of squeezing the glutes and the hips in, firming your hips in, belly button to spine. And then think of shifting weight a little forward into the balls of the feet so that your hamstrings really get the stretch. We're going to stay here for 2 more breaths. So you might be feeling a stretch on the outside of your ankle, the outside of your leg, because it's that angle in our foot. The ankle is getting stretched. And then start to walk the hands to a flat back. Hands to heart center or to hips. Inhale, rise all the way up. All right, let's heel toe the feet back in so we can kind of shake out the feet. Maybe even roll the ankles a little bit along the floor. And then we're going to do a similar stretch, but it's going to be coming towards a skandasana. So the toes are going to be turned out. So it's going to stretch the groins rather than the backs of the legs. So for this one, we can start with the blocks, although you probably won't need them, but we'll start with the blocks. So toes turned out, heels turned in a little bit, still nice and wide. We're going to bring the blocks down. So you're kind of taking a little forward fold. You're going to start to bend into your right knee and walk your blocks over to this side. So most of the weight is in your right leg. And then walk the blocks over to the left. Start to bend your left knee. And maybe just do that one more time. Start to walk over to the right. Maybe on this one, if you want to, you could start to peel the left toes off the ground and flex your left foot. And then walk it over to the left and peel your right toes up and ground your heel. Then come back to the center and come up to stand. If that felt good, we'll do it without the blocks. So hands to heart center, heels in, toes out, breathe in. Breathe out, bend into the right knee. Start to put weight into this right foot. You could keep your left toes down for this and then come back to the center. And then bend into the left knee and then come back to the center. You could do that again, or we'll keep getting lower and lower progressively. You can bend into the right knee and start to peel the left toes up, going only as low as you can, and then come back up. Bend into the left knee, weight in the left foot, peel the right toes up, come back to center. Okay, now full Skandasana is like a squat. So I'll show it here. We're gonna bend into the right knee, sit the hips low, peel the left toes up. Now you can put your hands on the floor once you get here. And this is really stretching the groin on the left leg. The goal is to get your right heel to touch the floor. It's okay if it doesn't today. That's just gonna give you something to work toward. Once you get that heel down, it gives you a really good stretch in the Achilles. And then we're gonna walk it through the middle and go the other way. So you could use blocks here again under the hands, but we're trying to stretch the right groin now. Left foot flat is the goal. It's okay if it's not flat. And then let's come through the middle, come up to stand. All right, let's face the front of the mat, shake out the legs a little bit. And then we're just gonna do one more stretch with the blocks, a standing pose, pyramid. So have the blocks tall. This is gonna be for your hamstrings. Send the left leg back, right toes point forward, hands to heart center or hips. Firm the glutes in towards the center, lift up tall through your spine, and then exhale, flat back again, forward fold. Go nice and slow, hands to the blocks once you arrive. And we're just gonna stay in this pose for several breaths. The longer you stay here, the more it's gonna open up your leg. It's okay if your hips are not perfectly square, although that is a good goal to sort of think about, trying to square the hips. Belly button to spine for support. And you can hang out here, maybe think of gripping your right quad a little bit, being mindful not to hyperextend in your knee. So even if that means a little bend in the right knee actually gives you a better stretch, go for that. And then I'll give you an optional add-on here that's going to utilize the blocks. So you could think of inhaling to a really long spine, and then exhale, bend the elbows and round your back and kind of fold forehead towards your right knee. And then you'll inhale to straighten the arms and lengthen your spine. And then exhale to fold and bend the elbows, round your back. If that feels good, keep going. You can inhale to lengthen. Exhale to forward fold. Maybe hold in the forward fold. See what that feels like. And then we'll straighten the elbows. Find your balance and come all the way up to stand. And step it to the top. Shake that out. Right foot is going to go back next. Left foot forward. In your own tempo, we're going to come back down. So flat back, hinge, hands to blocks. Left leg is now getting all the stretch. So you can maybe think of like inserting your femur bone back into the hip. Belly to spine, lengthening your spine. Really good stretch in the hamstring. Behind the knee. And just stay here for like 2 more breaths. Trying to breathe into this side. It's okay if it feels different than the right side. And then we're going to inhale to get long. And if you're going for it, exhale to forward fold and bend the elbows. Inhale to lengthen the spine. And exhale to forward fold, bend the elbows. Inhale to push your palms into the blocks, straighten the elbows, lengthen the spine. Forward fold. Maybe hang out here for a couple breaths. Think of firming your thighs towards each other. And then maybe inhale to straighten. Take your time, come all the way up. Right foot to the top. Shake out the legs. Move the blocks. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, downward dog. Take an inhale. Exhale to tabletop. And then come to a seat. You could face the long side of your mat, or you could stay facing forward. We're going to use blocks and come into a straddle forward fold. So legs are open. This is going to get the groin. Blocks under the hands. Feet can kind of just do whatever they naturally want to do. I'm not going to worry too much about that. And then we're going to walk the blocks forward. Maybe move the flesh away from your sit bones so that you can tip your pelvis forward a little bit. And then with a flat back, just go as far as you can until you feel decent sensation in your groin, and then stay there. And you could also bring elbows to blocks. And then just start to relax the face, the eyes, the jaw. Just take 2 more breaths. And then we'll start to walk it back in. And then just for contrast, we'll get the glutes. So draw the legs in by grabbing behind the thighs. And then we're going to take a little bit of a deeper stretch than the other video. We could try to bring the right leg on top of the left leg. I know this is a little hard. And then try to bring your knee kind of over your foot. This is a choice that you can take today. If this just hurts your knees or it's not great, then you could cross your right leg in front of your left leg, and we're going to do a forward fold. So I'll show it with this. Also, if you're home and you want to put like a blanket in between your knee and your foot, there's probably a space here. You could stick a blanket or a pillow there so that your knee kind of lands onto something. That could be helpful. A block isn't really the best prop, but that's kind of the idea. And then we're going to forward fold again. So this stretch is targeting the outside of the leg rather than the inside and the groin. And we'll just breathe here for a little bit. And then start to come up. You could shake out the legs in front if that helps. And then do the left side. So whatever you did on the right, maybe try that on the left. So whether you're stacking the legs or you're just crossing the ankles in front of you, both are great. They're going to stretch the same muscle. So it's up to you to choose which one feels better for you. There's nothing right or wrong about either one. And then forward fold however far you can go, with or without your blocks under your elbows. And maybe you just release your chin to your chest, drop your head. I'll stay here for 2 more breaths. And then start to roll up. Shake out the legs. And then for today, you can end lying on your back, maybe in a supported Supta Baddha Konasana. So creating a little shelf with your blocks. You could lie down, bring your feet together, knees wide, and just slide your blocks anywhere under the legs so that they can land on the blocks. And then hands might feel good just resting on the low belly or by your side, whatever you prefer. You could even kind of rest your head in your hands if you want to take like a loungy kind of a shape. And then decide what feels good for you. And you're going to take a rest here, just breathing, enjoying the stillness, enjoying the space you've created in your hips, and just allowing your body to open and also to settle and ground down into the earth. So you can feel very connected. And so for the remainder of this video, I'm going to leave you here in this pose. Take as long as feels good. And then softly and gently come out of your rest and back to a seat when you feel complete. Enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.